George Kalesi'ne gidiyoruz. Biliyor musun? Şurayı görmek istedim. Şimdi dolanıyor ya. Bu etrafında da dolaşmış olduğumuz yer Fort George. Fort George Kalesi'ne doğru gidiyoruz. Tabii kale deyince taştan dağlar üstüne yapılmış devasa kaleler değil. Bunlar savunma ve koruma amaçlı yapılmış. Bu kıtaya özgü kaleler. 1812-1813 savaşında Amerikalılar tarafından bombalanmış. Sonra 1813-15 arasında Kanada kuvvetleri yeniden almış, bizim kuvvetler. ...1940'a kadar bir fiil kullanılmış, sonra müzeye çevrilmiş. Orijinal yapım tarihi 1799. Altta da Fransızcası var. Kanada bilingual, yani iki dilli bir ülke. İngilizce ve Fransızca. Eğer Kanada yaşıyorsanız bu iki dile de vakıf olmak zorundasınız. Şimdi giriş bileti almak için içeri giriyoruz. Hello. Thank you.
Yeah, enjoy. Hello, hello, hello. How you doing today? Good. How many things?
Evet, biletimizi aldık. İki kişi 24 dolar. Evet, burası bizim ünlü Fort George. George'un kalesi. Burada zamanında çok büyük savaşlar oldu. Hatta Amerika'dan buraya insanlar akın akın göç ettiler. Çünkü Kanada tarafında kalmak istiyorlardı. Şimdi bu şemalarda size savaşı anlatabilirim. Şu gitmiştik Fort Mississauga Kalesi'ne. Şu köşede olan. Bu Fort George. Şurası Amerika kıyıları. Burası Kanada. Şurada Mississauga, Fort Mississauga var. Burada Fort George var. Burada irili ufaklı savunma hattı var. Çünkü buralardan Amerikalılar çıkartma yapamıyor. Çünkü buralarda yüksek yamaçlar var. Sadece bu bölge çıkartmaya uygun. O bakımdan burada Kanada savunma hattı oluşturdu. Ve bugünkü Kanada'nın mevcut sınırlarını korudular. İlk önce bu bölgeye Fransızlar geldi 16. yüzyılda. Sonra İngilizler Fransızlardan bu bölgeyi aldılar. Sonra Amerikalılar Bağımsızlık Savaşı'ndan sonra ayrı devlet olduktan sonra burayı almak istediler. Ama Kanada, yani bizler burayı savunarak bugünkü sınırlarımıza eriştik. Bunlar Amerikalıların buraya çıkartmasını sembolize eden, bizim için karşılama merasim flütü çalıyor. Ve Fort George. Bu alanda su varmış daha önce. Kapı.
Or I can throw them away for you. I am that highly trained. Okay. So in the middle of our map, or in the middle of our book rather, is a map. Number 1 is where we are right now. Now you can go in numerical order. Number 1 is where we are. If you can go in numerical order, you can be rebellious. Start at number 11. We don't care. But you're going to find there's a lot more information inside the people who haven't had anyone to talk to for a year than there are inside the booklets. So don't be afraid to ask this question. Now at 2:30, we're having a musket.
Found it in the grass.
Ah, thank you very much, sir.
Can I grab food from my kids?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
And come back?
I'll be here. Yep. Yep.
May I take the one?
There you go.
Sir, thank you.
Did you want to keep the ticket? Do you want me to throw it away?
No, I kept it.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. This Fort George'un yerleşim planı. Köşelerde savunma tavırları var. Klasik bir kale mimarisi yani. Tamam mı? Kanada'da böyle yüzlerce kale var. Evet. Evet, burada görüyorsunuz. Bu mavi kıyafetler, üniformalar, Amerikalılar. Bizim kuvvetler kırmızı ceketler, üniformalar. Buradan çıkartma yapıyorlar. Fort George'un olduğu bölgeden. Burada büyük bir savunma hattı var bizimkiler tarafından. Amerikalılar geri püskürtülüyor. Zaten bu bölgeden çıkartma yapamıyorlar. Çünkü savunma ve uzun menzilli toplar var. Zaten gemilerle yanaşamıyorlar, küçük teknelerle yanaşabiliyorlar. 1812'li yıllar. Burası depoymuş. Depo kısmına girdik. Müthiş bir tarihi koku var. Bunlar barut fıçıları. Bunlar top gülleleri. Bu havan topu. 6 inçlik. Burası zamanında baruthaneymiş. Bunlar tüfekler. Ve süngüleri. ...1813 yılında Amerikalıların 7.000 askeri var karşı tarafta. Bizim tarafta Kanada'nın 1400 askeri var. 21 topu var. Amerikalıların 75 topu var. Bizim yani o şartlarda yenmişiz. Şu kırmızı kareli bölge, şu an işte bulunduğumuz bölge. Bu Fort George. Burası Town, Niagara-on-the-Lake. Burası karşı Amerikalıların bulunduğu bölge, Fort Niagara. Bu bölgede 1799-1812 arasında savaş oldu Amerikalılarla bizim aramızda. Burası Lake yeri, aşağı tarafta. Bu Niagara Falls, Niagara River, yani Niagara Irmağı. Fort Erie'den başlıyor. Burası Niagara Falls, çağlayanlar yani. Buradan gidiyor. Bu bölgeden Ontario Gölü'ne bağlanıyor. Bizim Amerika ve Kanada bordurundaki eski savunma kaleleri Chippewa, Fort Erie, Fort Malden, Fort St. Joseph. Bu Chippewa yerlerin savunması için oluşturduğu bölge.
Well, hello everyone and welcome to the Fort George musket demonstration. My name is Fred and today I'm joined by James. And in a few minutes we're going to be joined by a few more redcoats. They're going to take the field just behind us and they're going to fire several times out of the musket for all of your enjoyment. But before we actually get to the fire in the pan, which is still an expression we use today for something that's rather exciting in the beginning but has no real follow through. And it's essentially because if you get a flash in the pan with the musket, it might look like your musket went off. It looks rather exciting, but then your musket is not actually firing, so there's no follow through. Now, the other major problem with the musket was that it was not a very accurate weapon at all. In fact, it's only accurate to about 75 yards, which is about where we are to that palisade wall just over there. Anything further than that wall, you could shoot at it all day long. You probably wouldn't hit it a single time. And the reason why these weapons are so inaccurate is because they're called smooth bore weapons, which means that there's nothing actually inside the barrel to guide the bullet when you pulled the trigger. So what tended to happen was the musket ball would rattle along the sides of the barrel. It would typically hit twice, and then it would fling out whatever direction it happened to rattle last. And in fact, by 150 yards, this is only about double that 75-yard range, the musket. So now I am going to pass it off to our redcoats. They're going to fire several times. The first load they're going to do is in what's called the platoon loading exercise, or essentially a training exercise, which they did at the beginning of battles as they found it calmed the nerves of the soldiers. And then after that, they're going to be doing what's called the firings exercise, or essentially loading as quickly as they can. And then after that, I will be back to talk to you a bit more, and they'll also demonstrate a few different ways of firing outside of just the regular linear tactic.
Want to perform the platoon loading exercise with flag markers. Oh! Handle, mark! 1, 2, 3, prime! 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, now, out! 1, 2, 3, raw rammers and rams. Shoulder. Arc. Hey, ready. 2, 3. Done. Fire. In the firing. Oh.
They're gonna do it again, Alex.
Let's go. Hey, ready. 2, 3. Done. Fire. Oh.
I saw this part. Did you?
Hey, ready. 2, 3. Done. Fire. I've got the band shoulder arm.
Maybe let me.
2, 3. 1. Thank you.
So the squad's just going to take a second. They're going to set up on the field for another type of firing, or what was called the light infantry exercise, which was another common way of firing the musket. And what the light infantry exercise was essentially getting down on one knee, lowering your profile, and it would actually be a skirmishing technique. So the idea was that the light infantry would advance before the main British line. They would try and take off as many important targets as they can. Sometimes these light infantry would be equipped with rifles. I mentioned that they could be more accurate. And their job would be to pick off important targets and then retreat before the main British line actually came in. Now, if you look at the squad behind us, you'll notice that they're actually wearing different colored hackles atop their shakos.
Yes.
And what these hackles did was designate companies. So today we have two different. We have the light infantry who wore the green and the grenadiers who wore the white. Now, historically, the job of the light infantry would, of course, be to do that light infantry exercise that I mentioned. Today we're going to have everyone doing it just to get a bit more of a rate of fire going. But historically, these would be different jobs. So the light infantry would be more experienced soldiers. They would typically have been with the army for a bit longer, and so they were trusted to sort of think for themselves a bit more on the battlefield. Now, what the squad has just done has basically broken itself into pairs. It might look somewhat the same to you guys, but they have broken off into pairs. And so when they are firing, the idea behind the light infantry is that one of the pair is always going to have their musket loaded while the other person is firing. So you'll notice when they're shooting, one person will be waiting for the other person to be ready, and then the other person will shoot. And the idea behind the pair was essentially that if your musket happens to misfire, just as an American soldier is chasing after you, well, you have a partner right next to you that can hopefully take off a shot and take down that American before they reach you. I did also mention the grenadiers briefly. They did also have a distinct role on the battlefield, and what their job was essentially to carry grenades, which, if you don't know, in this time period, a grenade was essentially a giant metal shot put filled with black powder with a fuse on the end that you lit. And since they were so heavy, the grenadiers typically had to be the taller, stronger soldiers. In fact, it was the only company that had a height requirement in the British Army. Although by this time period, they were phasing out the grenades as they found that most soldiers weren't actually strong enough to throw them far enough to reach the enemy. And they tended to kill themselves rather than their enemy.
One, two, three. Ready?
All commence light infantry firing. Front rank. Hey, ready. 1, 2, 3.
Now the last shot they fire off is going to be in what's called, the last shot they're going to fire off is going to be in what's called firing by file, or essentially one soldier after the other after the other. And one thing that you can pay attention to on this last firing is actually the different type of load that they're going to do. Instead of using their ramrod, they're going to instead do what's called a jog load, or essentially hammering their musket off the ground in a sense to use gravity to push the round down all the way to the bottom of the barrel. The soldiers did do this historically, although it typically decreased the effectiveness of the musket. It made the shots have less impact behind them, and also typically increased the misfire rate.
All commence with file firing from the right. Hey, ready. 2, 3. File number 1.
Bravo.
File firing from the right. File number 1.
how about a round of applause for all our fires today?
Burası atölye. Bu atölyede Türkçedeki adıyla workshop. Çünkü kimse artık çalışma ofisine, çalışma yerine çalışma alanı demiyor. Workshop. Workshop. Binalar ağaç geçirme tekniğiyle yapılmış. Bu bina 1799'da, bir de ondan önce bu ağacın mazisi var. Herhalde 1-200 yıllık ağaç vardır. Çünkü gövdesi bayağı büyük duruyor. Yani burada bir tarih. Şu an bir tarihe dokunuyorum. Buradan hep insanlar geldi geçti. Yeah. Tarihe dokunup hissediyorum tarihi. Roof kapırdan yapılmış, kapır levhalardan, yani bakır levhalardan. Güzel bir taş işçiliği var. Karşı. Bunlar dışarıya gözetleyip ateş etme markaları. Mimar Sinan tekniğiyle yapılmış, dışarıdan payanları destekli yani. Burası baruthaneymiş. Powder magazin. Fransızca la poudrière. Kapısı gördüğünüz gibi ahşap üstüne kapır bindirme. Yani bakır ağaçın bindirme. Nasıl çekiyor? Evet, dışarıyı görüyoruz. Kimsecikler yok. ...17. yüzyılda burası kiler. Eski zamanda tahta fıçılarda yiyecekler muhafaza ediliyormuş. Kova tahtadan. Orada bir geyik avlamışlar. Geyik butu var. Şu sarı yapraklar tütün. Kuzey Amerika'nın tütünleri ünlü. Artık tahta fıçılar öyle bir kurumuş ki çelik gibi ses geliyor.
Well, you can take a look at the menu there. That's taken from a cookbook published in 1747.
Evet, bu
Shows us that
arkadaş aşçı
that
halinden de belli olduğu gibi
means were used to be
kaşınarak anlatıyor menüyü.
and fairly similar to what they were eating here.
Evet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What's the menu today?
Take a look for yourself.
Over there.
Thank you.
Let me see what's in there. Oh yeah, that's the pantry.
We are on the July.
So of course I didn't make all of those today. You need quite a few more people and
Yeah,
probably a larger kitchen.
yeah.
Here, in the original building, there was a big chimney in the middle
Yep.
and 4 fireplaces,
Yeah.
so that they could make several meals at once.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Where's the third?
Yeah, okay.
Have a nice day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye. Şimdi subaylar odasına geldik. Burası Subay Gentleman Club. Burası pipoların içtikleri şömine. Bu da masalar, strateji geliştirdikleri. Burada bir şey görüyorum. Nota easel. Orada da notalar var. Orada bir piyano var. Kuyruklu piyano. Şu an resmen tarih kokuyor. Pencere, French style. Şömine.
No, go ahead, up to you.
Thank you. Wow. Burası dining room. Yemek yeme odası.
Basically what you're looking at.
Yeah, we saw the menu. Very rich. And yatak odası. Burada soba varmış. Sobadan parçalar kalmış.
These calls could range from the Ravalli at 3:30 in the morning to the final. Cool. Okay, good. Drums, ready. Drums, beat. Now, I also mentioned Ravalli ceasefire. There's also a third instrument. So the bugler will play the close, which will tell the troops to close their ranks up when they're spread out for skirmish. And when the fifers and drummers were out. Okay, good. Drums, ready. Drums, beat. National anthems or pay tribute to dignitaries. And the one we'll play for you is called Country Dance. Cool. Okay, good. Drums, ready. Drums, beat. conclude the fife and drum demonstration. But yeah, if you are leaving us today, thank you very much for coming to Fort George and have a great rest of your day.